The village of Nom was older than the rivers that carved the land, older than the stories whispered beneath the moonlight. It was a place of hunters and herders, where the scent of roasting maize filled the air in the evenings, and children ran barefoot over the sun-cracked earth, their laughter ringing between the mud brick huts. Life in Nom followed the rhythm of the land, harvest and droughts, births and burials, the steady pulse of time as predictable as the rising sun. But beneath the warmth of its community, a shadow lurked. A whisper, woven into the fabric of their stories. At the very edge of the village, where the tall grasses swayed like restless spirits, stood the baobab. No one knew how long it had been there. The tree was monstrous in size, its roots clawing into the earth like a giant's fingers, its hollow trunk wide enough to swallow a manhole. The elders said it had been there before the first ancestors, before even the rivers had learned to carve their way through the land. The baobab did not just stand. It washed. And it whispered. When the wind blew through its ancient branches, voices called through the air, soft, beckoning, like the murmurs of the dead calling from the other side. The villagers knew better than to listen. They averted their eyes when passing, quickened their steps, muttered prayers beneath their breath. But no matter how tightly they shut their ears, the baobab still spoke. And when the tree called for someone, they never returned. That was why, when Abeni vanished on the eve of the storm, the village did not search for her. She is gone, the elders said gravely. The baobab has taken her. But Kweku did not believe in curses. He did not believe in whispered warnings or tales meant to keep children from wandering too far at dusk. What he did believe in was his sister. And he would not let the darkness steal her without a fight. That night, while the village slept, he took his father's spear, wrapped his hands in leather to steady his grip, and walked toward the tree that swallowed souls. The night air was thick, heavy with the scent of damp earth and the distant smoke of dying fires. Kweku's footsteps were the only sound as he moved through the tall grass, the village shrinking behind him. His grip on his father's spear tightened. The baobab loomed ahead, its monstrous form swallowing the moonlight. Up close, it was more than just a tree, it was a thing of legend, its bark carved with symbols so old even the elders had forgotten their meaning. The roots twisted and curled like the limbs of some great beast frozen in time. The villagers said the tree was cursed. That it whispered secrets no human should ever hear. Kweku never believed them. Until now. A voice slithered through the wind. Kweku. His heart slammed against his ribs. It was a whisper, faint but clear, curling around his ears like breath on cold skin. He took a step back, his pulse roaring in his ears. No. It was the wind. Just the wind. Then he heard it again. Come closer. The voice was neither male nor female. It was both. It was neither. It was everywhere. Then, another sound. A faint cry. Abeni. Kweku's breath caught in his throat. His sister was alive. He rushed forward, pressing his ear to the tree's bark. The whispers grew stronger, layered, overlapping. Some were murmured in languages he did not know. Others spoke in tongues so ancient they felt like ghosts of forgotten words. And beneath them all, Abeni's voice. Help me, Kweku. His stomach twisted. Abeni, he called, pressing his palms against the rough bark. Where are you? A rush of wind swept past him, stirring the dust at his feet. Then, the ground beneath him vanished. Kweku fell. The fall was not long, but when he hit the ground, the air was knocked from his lungs. He lay there for a moment, dazed, before rolling onto his hands and knees. It was dark. No, not just dark. Wrong. The air here was thick, damp, clinging to his skin like oil. The ground beneath him was not soil but something else, something that pulsed faintly, as if it were alive. A soft, eerie glow filled the space, revealing twisted roots stretching deep into the earth, their veins pulsing with an otherworldly light. They coiled and slithered, moving as if they were breathing. Kweku pushed himself up, his muscles aching. He turned, his breath catching in his throat. Ebony lay a few feet away, motionless. But she was not alone. Something stood beside her. Tall. Shadowed. Watching. Kweku's fingers tightened around his spear. The creature was unlike anything he had ever seen. It was human-shaped, but too thin, its limbs stretched unnaturally long. Its skin was blackened like burnt wood, cracked with lines of glowing gold. Its face was hollow, its eyes nothing but pits of white fire. The Nyoka. The cursed guardian of the tree. The thing that had stolen Ebony. The creature cocked its head, as if amused. "You are braver than the others," it rasped, its voice like rustling leaves. "And foolish." Kweku raised his spear. "Let her go." The Nyoka chuckled. "She is already mine." Then it moved. Faster than anything Kweku had ever seen. A blur of darkness and hunger. Kweku barely dodged as the creature lashed out, its claws carving deep into the ground where he had stood a moment before. The impact sent a shockwave through the chamber, making the roots tremble. Kweku rose to his feet, heart pounding. The Nyoka was fast, too fast. But it had made one mistake. It thought he was afraid. But fear was a luxury Kweku could not afford. His grip tightened on the spear. He had one shot. The Nyoka lunged again. Kweku sidestepped, using the creature's momentum against it. He thrust the spear forward, aiming for its chest. But the Nyoka was quicker. It twisted, catching the spear in its bare hands. Then it smiled. Kweku's blood turned to ice. "You cannot kill what is older than death," the Nyoka whispered. Then it swung. Kweku barely had time to react before he was sent flying, his body slamming into the pulsing ground. Pain exploded in his ribs. He gasped, his vision swimming. The Nyoka stalked forward, dragging his spear behind it. "Your bones will feed the roots," it said. "Just like all the others." Kweku's fingers dug into the earth. No. Not like this. He had not come this far to die. Then he saw it. The glowing roots. The baobab was not just a prison. It was alive. Kweku lunged forward, grabbing a loose root and ripping it free. The Nyoka screamed. The sound was unlike anything Kweku had ever heard, raw, agonized, filled with ancient rage. The creature stumbled back, clutching its chest as golden light spilled from its cracks. The whispers in the air changed. They were no longer murmurs of hunger, but cries of freedom. The Nyoka let out one last, piercing wail, then it collapsed into dust. The whispers stopped. The chamber fell silent. Kweku did not wait. He staggered to Ebony's side, scooping her up in his arms. She was still breathing, her pulse weak but steady. They had to leave. Now. With the last of his strength, Kweku carried her toward the roots. The earth trembled beneath him, the chamber collapsing, the tree's prison unraveling. Then, light. A rush of wind. And then, they were above ground. The first light of dawn bathed Nom in gold. The villagers found them at the tree's roots, bruised, bloodied, but alive. The baobab stood silent. Its whispers were gone. From that day forward, the people of Nom no longer feared the tree. They no longer averted their eyes or whispered prayers as they passed. For the one who had stolen their children was no more. And Kweku was no longer just the hunter's son. He was the boy who had silenced the whispers. The boy who had walked into the darkness. And won.